Hello everybody, welcome back, and I hope you're doing well and staying safe out there. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what happened in episode 11 of Mystic Pop-Up Bar, currently on Netflix. I also want to mention that I was wrong about something. I thought that there were 16 episodes in this series, but it was brought to my attention that there are only actually 12, which that makes a lot more sense because I was pretty shocked with myself that I was able to already guess how it was going to end, when in my mind, we had a bunch more episodes until that happened. But now that I've been told that there are only 12, and if I had just kept scrolling on Netflix, I would have seen that as well. It makes a little more sense. So, TLDR, there are not 16 episodes, there are 12. There are 2 episodes airing this week. This is the second to last episode, so sorry about that. If you remember at the end of episode 10, it seems like Woo-ju had figured out that Gui was the crown prince after talking to Kang-bae, who she overheard giving Yurin some pickup lines that the crown prince had said to her in the past, and Kang-bae telling her that he learned them from manager Gui. We ended the last episode with her going to confront Gui at the pop-up bar and asking who he really was, and that's where we start off in this episode. As she goes to confront him and he kind of plays dumb, she decides against calling him out, since now that she knows who he really is, it seems, what's the point, It's not going to fix what happened in the past, and at least now she has someone to be angry at. Manager Gui obviously does want to know what she's talking about or why she's asking that, but she's just like, never mind, kind of bottles it up inside and, moves on. Sort of. I mean, she's very distraught. She's definitely crying a lot in this episode, but she's obviously having trouble since now that she knows who he is, she kind of feels like a fool, since she started to open up to him and tell him all about this guy who hurt her and her past, and turns out it was him the whole time. So she feels pretty dumb and obviously doesn't want to talk about it because of that. At the beginning of the episode, and while Gui doesn't know that she knows, you can tell that Woo-ju is pissed at him. And we see all that happen while they are serving the bar that evening. She's throwing plates down, just giving Gui the evil eye, and Kang-bae and Gui are at a loss. They don't know what's going on. There is a particularly funny scene during this time when you see how upset Woo-ju is at Gui before he knows that she for sure knows. And both he and Kang-bae fear her wrath.
돈이 얼마 안 남았어. 돌리고 와야겠다, 빨리. 얘기를 마저 해?
이모님, 반장님이 뭐 실수했죠? 뭐예요? 분리수거 제대로 안 했어요? 아, 또 음식물 쓰레기에 닭뼈 같이 버렸구나? 제가 그렇게 얘기를 했는데.
시가! 너도 나가!
네.
And speaking of Kang-bae, romance is in the air now that him and Yurin are officially dating. However, something starts to affect their new fresh relationship early on, because every time Yurin tries to hold Kang-bae's hand or get physical, a voice starts screaming at her not to go near him, not to touch him, and only she can hear it. She doesn't know where it's coming from particularly or what's going on, but a little later in the episode, we find out that it's actually the Cinnabar spirit warning her away from Kang-bae because of the Cinnabar's past experience with the guy. This is also why in the past, the guys Yurin liked would be creeped out when she touched them. The spirit of the Cinnabar was doing this on purpose because she fears men and doesn't want anything to do with them. In the past, this worked, but because Kang-bae is Kang-bae, it hasn't been working, so she's been having to scream into Yurin's head. We find this out when Yurin, distraught over the voice, finds herself at the pop-up bar, and when Woo-ju runs outside to chase off some drunks, Yurin, looking for a refill, ends up drinking some of the Sung-jae, and when Woo-ju comes back, she's in the dream world where she meets the Cinnabar spirit and hears her story. Apparently, what happened back in the day and how the Cinnabar died is in the evening she would wander the town as a girl since she was a little bored, doing her job to ward off bad spirits, etc. And one evening runs into a guy and falls in love with him at first sight. We see as the audience that it's actually Won-young. He ends up using her to get shavings of the Cinnabar, which he tells her he's using to help raise money and help the ill. But when she stops seeing him suddenly, he shows up at the cave where she, the cinnabar stone, lived with a sledgehammer and really showed his true colors then, breaking the stone and killing her to actually pay for an army to take part in an uprising to replace the current king, which is not what he said he was using the cinnabar shavings for. So he lied to her the whole time. Being heartbroken and deceived herself, Woo-ju can totally relate, but this is when the cinnabar reveals why she stopped seeing the guy, and it's because she saw him leave a shaman's house one night where he killed her and burned down the shrine. The cinnabar even mentions that the shaman used to visit her often with the daughter, and she felt really bad about it. So this is how Woo-ju discovers what really happened to her mother and who actually killed her. Realizing she'd been blaming the wrong person for what happened to her and her mother, she finds Gui to apologize. She meets him at a temple where he is paying his respects to Shin-ji-ho, who he finds out died earlier in the episode. Gui had gone to her store and found out from the detective there that she had been killed, and then meets with Death because this proves that someone is watching them, trying to keep them from settling the grudges and meeting their quota, since this was his mother's reincarnation and somebody that they were trying to help to make their quota, and somebody got to her and killed her before they could help her. Death, knowing that he was the one that killed him, which, reminder, this is Won-young in disguise, tells Gui, I already got that evil spirit yesterday. Sorry that it was too late to save your mother, but it's been handled. It's in the spirit world. You don't need to worry about it anymore. Gui is pretty shocked by this, since in the past, Death has asked Gui to help him catch these evil spirits, and for Death to just take this all on his own, he thought was a little strange. But Death does remind him that Won-young was his son and kind of his responsibility, so after that, as his excuse, Gui lets it go. When Gui is leaving the temple, Woo-ju is there outside waiting for him, and this is when Gui and Woo-ju have a heart-to-heart, and Gui tells her what really happened at the wedding, which was one of the things that had upset Woo-ju, and the misunderstanding that happened then. After she died, it seemed he lived a happy life, but nay, the wedding was just a ruse to confront Won-young for what he did, what he was planning, and to punish him. Since, if I understood it correctly, I think that his sister was supposed to be marrying Gui, or the crown prince. I might have misunderstood that, but he seemed to think that because he was about to marry into the family, or was part of the royal family, that he could sort of become the new crown prince. Anyway, he thought that he was going to get away with it, but the crown prince stopped him. And that's why we saw those scenes in earlier episodes of the crown prince with the bloody blade going up to the tree. It's because he beheaded Won-young and then obviously killed himself after. At least I think he killed himself. I'm pretty sure there was that scene where he was talking with the god of the underworld, and that's what she said he did, if I remember correctly. Wow, it's only been a couple episodes and I'm already forgetting stuff. Sorry. I might have to go back to my own recap. So Woo-ju forgives Gui, and he's finally able to give her the jade ring he had planned to give her the night they were supposed to meet, which was another lie Won-young had told her, since he told Woo-ju that the king was meeting her to break up. However, not the case. She still doesn't tell him that she had been pregnant and they had a child together. When they're out later in the episode and Gui is gushing over a baby, she sort of tests the waters. She almost tells him earlier when she first tells him that she knows who he is and how much he hurt her and someone else, but ends up only mentioning her mother in the conversation of the people that were hurt by his choices and the promises he made to her. So it's like, she almost wants to tell him, but kind of not, because, you know, what can he do about it? Now that the misunderstanding is cleared up, Woo-ju moves her focus to helping the cinnabar move past her grievance so Yi-ren can be affectionate towards Kang-bae, and they can finally fall in love, like fully in love, and Kang-bae can be cured of his gift. During all of this, Kang-bae has no idea what's going on, but is aware to the fact that it seems Yi-ren did meet with Woo-ju and that she drank some of the Sung-jae. Besides that, he's clueless as to what Woo-ju is planning and that Yurin is the reincarnated spirit of the Cinnabar. Woo-ju puts her plan into action by picking up Yurin from work, who is actually heading to the hospital to get checked out due to the voices she's hearing. And Woo-ju spikes her coffee with more Sung-jae, and when they are in the dream world with the Cinnabar, tells her she needs to be with friends to get over the guy who hurt her. So they meet up with Samson at a karaoke bar where they sing their hearts out, and we also get a guest appearance of a famous singer who joins in. And after that, they sit around eating sweets and talking about their feelings, which helps Cinnabar and her grievance be solved. We see this later when Yurin is able to hold Kang-bae's hand and even hold him without hearing a voice telling her to stop or get away from him, which makes her super happy. And at the pop-up bar, the quota is updated to 99,999, so one more to go and 2 days left to do it. That evening at the pop-up bar is when Kang-bae finds out about Woo-ju and Gui and is thoroughly weirded out, kind of like a son would be, and finds it very awkward to be there with them. He decides he can't work in that sort of condition and leaves. Gui goes after him to try and stamp out the awkwardness and tell him everything that's going on. Kang-bae is still happy to hear about Woo-ju and that she'll get to be reincarnated after all this if she makes the quota. And this sort of motivates him to, you know, we need to get one more person and we can do this. We can do it in 2 days. His confidence is there. He's got a girlfriend now. Everything's working out. While the boys are out, Won-young, disguised as Death, comes into the bar. Well, technically he comes in when they're leaving, but him and Woo-ju are alone for a bit. And while they're talking, she starts ragging Won-young to death about what a horrible person his son was and how he's to blame for everything that happened to her, to Gui, to the misunderstanding, to why she's here right now, as well as the cause for her unborn child absorbing the spirit of the tree essence and being plagued with bad luck in all their reincarnated lives for the last 500 years. She just goes on and on and on about what a horrible person Won-young is. And this starts to annoy him, obviously, and he starts to show his true colors, and she figures out that he's not really Death. Won-young decides that instead of trying to stop her from helping people solve their grievances, since there's one left, that he's just gonna try and kill her and exact revenge that way. So he goes to grab her by the neck and starts to slowly choke her out. As he's choking her, Kang-bae appears and tries to stop him, but Won-young blasts him across the room with his spirit powers. Now, not sure if it's the blast or Kang-bae's desire to save Woo-ju, but this is when his true powers emerge and the power of the tree spirit is revealed. Mostly he just stands up and I think he yells, and in this like booming voice, the whole place starts shaking. It's pretty powerful stuff. Now, where is manager Gui, you must be asking? While Kang-bae and him are talking outside, he's called to the spirit world. I think to be told that they found out that Death has been missing this whole time or disappeared, and that there was no evil spirit dropped off by him a few days ago. They don't say, we don't see this interaction except later seeing Gui running to the pop-up bar, realizing that whatever he heard, Woo-ju and Kang-bae are in danger. Ironic, since his whole mission this whole time has been to stay by Woo-ju's side to protect her like he promised he would in his previous life. But that's just how it happens sometimes. All the time in Korean dramas. So they end the episode revealing that Kang-bae is the reincarnation of Woo-ju's child and has the essence of the tree spirit inside of him, and it seems he's about to use that power to save Woo-ju. We don't see that, just kind of an educated guess with how they leave the episode, but you know, that's how the episode ends. I'm so happy that we just found out the truth and Gui is forgiven by Woo-ju and they get to spend some sweet quality time together, but I'm also very bitter since I know and we know that Gui is going to be the one that goes to hell after they make the quota, and they might never be together ever again since she's going to be reincarnated and the place in hell he's going to is like hell of extinction, i.e. you're never reincarnated ever again. I feel like we all saw Kang-bae's reveal coming, but I did like how they went about it, and honestly seeing him in all black as the spirit tree was pretty hot. I would say from a character standpoint, we haven't seen a truly angry side of Kang-bae. We've for sure seen hurt and upset, but nothing like the look he has when he's all juiced up and when he's by the tree in the last scene. Can't wait to see how that unfolds. I'm just gonna assume that he kills Death and kind of blacks out and doesn't remember, but who knows? It could be different. I'm still standing behind my theory I gave in my last recap. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should probably go back and watch that. I go into a bit of a ramble. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. In the final episode, I'll give my overall review of the series and my final thoughts, so make sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when it's up. I'm also starting to recap It's Okay to Not Be Okay, which is airing on Saturday and Sundays. So if you're interested in that one, which it's a pretty popular show, I must say, I've got a reaction video to episode 1 and a recap of episode 2 up right now. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. My tummy just made a really loud grouse and killed her child, but she doesn't bring the child up when she gives this excuse. I don't like that answer.